Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Khoj Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. Our recitation is Sri Rag Mahela Chotha. Pehle Pehre ਰਹਿਣ ਕੇ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਹਰ ਪਾਇਆ ਉਦਰ ਮਝਾਰੇ ਹਰਿ ਧਿਆਵੇ ਹਰ ਉਚਰੈ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਹਰ ਹਰ ਨਾਮ ਸਮਾਰ ਹਰ ਹਰ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਿਆ ਰਾਧੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਨੀ ਹਰ ਜਪ ਜੀਵਿਆ ਬਾਹਿਰ ਜਨਮ ਭਇਆ ਮੁਖ ਲਾਗਾ ਸਰਸੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਮਾਤ ਥੀਵਿਆ ਜਿਸ ਕੀ ਵਸਤ ਤਿਸ ਚੇਤੋ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀ ਕਰ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਹਰ ਜਪੀਏ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਧਾਰ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਕੇ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਮਨ ਲਾਗਾ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਾਏ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਕਰ ਪਾਲੀਐ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਲੈ ਮਾਤ ਪਿਤਾ ਗਲ ਲਾਏ ਲਾਵੇ ਮਾਤ ਪਿਤਾ ਸਦਗਲ ਸੇਤੀ ਮਨ ਜਾਣੇ ਖਟ ਖਵਾਏ ਜੋ ਦੇਵੈ ਤਿਸੇ ਨ ਜਾਣੇ ਮੂੜਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਲਪਟਾਏ ਕੋਈ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਹੋਵੇ ਸੋ ਕਰੈ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਹਰ ਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਮਨ ਲਿਵ ਲਾਏ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀ ਤਿਸ ਕਾਲ ਨ ਕਬਹੂ ਖਾਏ ਤੀਜੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਕੇ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਮਨ ਲੱਗਾ ਆਲ ਜੰਜਾਲ ਧਨ ਚਿਤਵੈ ਧਨ ਸੰਚਵੈ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਹਰ ਨਾਮ ਹਰ ਨਾ ਸਮਾਲ ਹਰ ਨਾਮਾ ਹਰ ਹਰ ਕਦੇ ਨ ਸਮਾਲੈ ਜੈ ਹੋਵੇ ਅੰਤ ਸਖਾਈ ਇਹੋ ਧਨ ਸੰਪੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਝੂਠੀ ਅੰਤ ਛੋੜ ਚਲੇ ਪਛਤਾਈ ਜਿਸਨੂੰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਮੇਲੈ ਸੋ ਹਰ ਹਰ ਨਾਮ ਸਮਾਲ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਤੀਜੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀ ਸੋ ਜਾਏ ਮਿਲੇ ਹਰ ਨਾਲ ਚੌਥੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਕੇ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਹਰ ਚੱਲਣ ਵੇਲਾ ਆਦੀ ਹਰ ਸੇਵਹੁ ਪੂਰਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਵਣਜਾਰਿਆ ਮਿੱਤਰਾ ਸਭ ਚੱਲੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਿਹਾਦੀ ਹਰ ਸੇਵੋ ਖਿਨ ਖਿਨ ਢਿੱਲ ਮੂਲ ਨਾ ਕਰੈ ਜਿਤ ਅਸਥਿਰ ਜੁਗ ਜੁਗ ਹੋਵਹਿ ਹਰ ਸੇਤੀ ਸਦ ਮਾਨੋ ਰਲੀਆਂ ਜਨਮ ਮਰਨ ਦੁਖ ਖੋਵਹੁ ਗੁਰ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਸੁਆਮੀ ਭੇਦ ਨ ਜਾਨੋ ਜਿਤ ਮਿਲ ਹਰ ਸੰਗਤ ਸੁਖਦਾਈ ਗੁਰ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਸੁਆਮੀ ਭੇਦ ਨ ਜਾਨੋ ਜਿਤ ਮਿਲ ਹਰ ਭਗਤ ਸੁਖਾਂਦੀ ਕਹੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਪ੍ਰਾਣੀ ਚੌਥੇ ਪਹਿਰੇ ਸਫਲਿਓ ਰਹਿਣ ਭਗਤਾਂ ਦੀ। This composition by the fourth Nanak, Guru Ramdas, is part of the same cluster of sabads that are titled Pehre, signifying a unit of time. And life is ultimately a unit of time. How we spend it, that is the import of these sabads. The sabads of Pehre remind us of the need to acknowledge the inbuilt change and seasonality that accompanies our passage through earth. Change is constantly upon us, constantly inviting us into new patterns within the old pattern. In other words, life replacing life. Change is necessary. Otherwise, things get stagnant and nothing evolves or grows. And that really is the crux of our problem as humans, to find harmony between what is fixed and unchanging in us, namely the self, and its ever-changing embodiment pattern. That's the crux of the issue. And this passage, like the previous ones, begins with the process of birth, which is likened to a new pattern of embodiment that is eager for expression within the old. And the seed of life represents the blueprint that is incubated in the creative and cloistered womb. Pehle Pehre Rehn ke Vanjariya Mitra, Har Paya Udar Majar. Udar, of course, refers to the stomach. Manjar comes from the Arabic mazhar, which means a tomb or a memorial. And the reason it's a tomb is because the womb is protected. It's a protected area. And so when this birth happens, it is greeted with much fanfare. Mera kar palya vanjarya mitra, le mat pita gal lai. But the Guru cautions us, worldly relationships are tinged with expectation and selfishness. The parents keep the child in a tight embrace in the hope of being supported. Lave mat pita sad gal, seti man janya khat khawai. That's the key word, khat khawai. That's the expectation. And with birth, as we have seen previously, arises duality. It's a natural construct. That duality is haume. It's the symbol for duality, symbolizing the fragmentation of the self that was in a unitive experience in the womb is now fractured into a dual consciousness. Haume has come into the picture. Haume, subjective feelings. The feeling that I am a singular and subjective experience, that I am experiencing the world. That is haume. And we also noted that this is a natural outcome of being in Maya. Maya is the space, the time-space continuum, which is the backdrop to our existence. We exist within Maya, we act within Maya, and Maya has its own structure, its own framework. And in that framework is what is called Duja Pao. It's characterized by opposites, attractions and aversions, comparisons and contrast. That is the world of Maya. Duje pehre rehn ke vanjarya mitra, what happens? Man laga duje pae. Because haume is intrinsically woven in the time-space continuum, it is no surprise that haume should be literally and figuratively attached to Maya. That's our default position. And it is only inevitable that it gets caught in the rat race. Tije pehre rehn ke vanjarya mitra, man laga al janjal. Tan chitve, tan sanchve, vanjarya mitra, har nama har na samal. What does haume do? It falls into the trap of the inevitable rat race. So that raises a question. Is the accumulation of wealth, attachment of family and friends, a bad thing? Is this something that we need to avoid? Let's reflect on that. Not necessarily. We are meant to be creative in Maya. We can be creative or we can be destructive. The choice is ours. So the problem is not the acquisition of material things, but having a material outlook. The proper orientation in life is what must be obtained, and that has to be anchored in wisdom. So do whatever you do, but do it with wisdom. And rare is the individual who reflects and acts out of wisdom. Koi gurmukh hove sakare vichar harte ave man levlaye. This is a rarity, but that is the wisdom that has to be our compass. That is what we have to look at life through. That should be our lens. We have to shift the perspective of the haume that we have. And wisdom comes from self-awareness and self-knowledge, which is the recognition that the authentic self, the true source of one's existence, is unchanging and eternal. हर सेवै खिन खिन ढिल मूल ना करे, जित अस्थिर, unchanging, जुग जुग होवे, eternal. It's eternally unchanging. One has to realize that that is really the self that I am platformed on. And this knowledge comes from, as we have seen before, and we will see again, which is the crux of all Gurmani, the Satgur, the true enlightener. Now, the true enlightener or the Satgur is a function of the self itself. Oddly enough, the two sides, same coin. Gur Satgur Swami Ped na jane, jit mil har bhagat sukhandi. So, Ped na jane. Do not see a distinction between Gur, Satgur and Swami, which is the creator and the self. So think of this as a continuum. It's a spectrum of function that is within you. The Gur, the Satgur, inherent. The self is inherent, and you're connected to the macro self, which is the creator. And so the proper way to be creative and successful in life is to operate from the wisdom of self-knowledge. Kaho Nanak Prani Pehle Pehre, Safleo, who is successful? Ren Bhaktan di. So the Bhagats are really, truly successful. Bhagat, devotion, love for knowledge, wisdom. And that's how to live life. With those thoughts, until the next time, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.